All right, free radicals, disaffected voters, people who are no longer affiliated with either the Democrats or the Republicans, anyone else, curiosity seekers, people who are trying to figure me out. Aloha. Aloha to you all. My name is Dave, and this is The Radical Independent. Tulsi Gabbard really calls out Donald Trump in this video. Little cell phone style video. If you haven't seen it, let me play it for you.
Yesterday, President Trump offered to place our military, my brothers and sisters in uniform, under the command of Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the dictator of the Islamist Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so for those of you on the hard left, that statement she made, Islamist, okay, which, by the way, she's explained this over and over again, the very narrow theology or ideology, I don't even know what you want to call it. I'm really not concerned about these arguments anymore, but there are a few people on the left, and mostly in the tribalist wing of the party. They're Democrats. They're not really progressives. There are a few, though, that kind of have a foot in both of those areas, who would listen to this statement and say, well, this just proves that she's a war hawk, that she's a warmongering, stealth candidate who talks a good game about peace, but, she's calling out the Islamist Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And my response is, good. She's calling out the people that need to be called out. Also, if you really want to connect dots and not just be all sort of white with anger because you hear a statement, figure this one out. Okay, Saudi Arabia is probably the biggest sponsor of this particular ideology. All right, so again, if you believe that there's no terrorism in the world, I can't help you. I understand that the position of somebody who wants peace is to try to negotiate, to try to be diplomatic, but also should understand that under some circumstances, we might have to do something. But I would certainly err on the side of not doing anything until we know everything, and not this foreign policy that we currently have, which is basically to shoot first and ask questions later, rather than ask a whole bunch of questions and then maybe shoot or maybe try some diplomacy. But I just wanted to interject there because there are so many people that just knee-jerk to this idea that you can't be for any kind of conflict with anyone at any time. You just have to abolish all of it. And it's much like the folks who say just open up the border. That's crazy talk. You can't open up the border. Okay? Do we need workers? Yes, we do. And we need to transition our economy before we have people fighting for jobs in this country that are going to become scarce if we just open up the border. That's why we need something called comprehensive immigration reform. That's just me, okay? You may have a differing view on that, and we can hopefully coexist a little bit here, because I do believe if you have a really strong economy that's based on new technologies, green technologies, that you're going to need a lot of workers. So I went way off on a tangent there. Let's pick up where we left off with the beautiful, wonderful, talented Iron Maiden herself, Tulsi Gabbard.
Trump said we are locked and loaded, but are waiting to hear from the kingdom as to who they believe was the cause of this attack and under what terms we would proceed.
He's talking about the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, almost like a religious reference. We're waiting for the kingdom to give us our orders. Does anyone else find that really offensive if you're a Christian or a Muslim, whatever, you're waiting for the kingdom? It's the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, for those of you who don't speak in geographical Saudi Arabian lingo. Okay, we're waiting on the kingdom.
Now, Mr. President, as you know, I have never engaged in hateful rhetoric against you or your family, and I never will.
Okay, this is really important. This is what separates Tulsi Gabbard from the other candidates. Because there are a group of people, and it's a pretty large group of people in the country right now, that wants to hate on Donald Trump and his family. And it gives them some kind of personal satisfaction, makes them feel better about themselves. And look, I'm not saying you can't be angry with Trump, but she's making a distinction. Hateful rhetoric does not help anybody. Okay, it doesn't help the people who voted for Trump, for instance. If you're trying to convince them to vote for Tulsi or Bernie or whoever, if you're trying to convince them, this is the wrong way to do it. Because you're basically saying you were really stupid to vote for that guy, and I'm going to keep calling you stupid and hope that you'll come and vote for my guy. Or maybe you're just, I hear a lot of this talk, well, I've just given up on those people. Really? Because I was one of those people. All right? And I'll tell you what, Jimmy Dore was kind of like the gateway drug for me into a whole new way of looking at things. Jimmy Dore isn't into identity politics, by the way, because he sees where it leads, the foolishness of it. In any event, let's continue with Tulsi Gabbard.
But you're offering our military assets to the dictator of Saudi Arabia to use as he sees fit is a betrayal of my brothers and sisters in uniform who are ready to give our lives for our country, not for the Islamist dictator of Saudi Arabia. And for you to think that you can pimp out our proud servicemen and women to the Prince of Saudi Arabia is disgraceful.
Did you hear what she just said? She used the term pimp out. Now, for some of you who want decorum and, and I do. I don't want people throwing F-bombs out every time they're trying to describe something or every time they get angry. But this is an apt description. We're using the military here. We're going to use them in the kingdom. We're going to help the Saudi prince and so forth. And that's how our military is going to be used. Number one, it's completely unconstitutional. Okay? This is completely, you need Congress in on this. By the way, conservatives like Mark Levin, who made some asinine statement yesterday about Tulsi Gabbard, the guy who hated Donald Trump, and then when Trump won, he became the biggest supporter of Donald Trump. The money's going this way, Mark Levin, hack lawyer. I mean, worst radio voice in the history of radio broadcasting, Mark Levin. Oh yeah, you big dummy. That's all you hear on the radio all day. You listen to him for like 15 minutes, you're already reaching for the ibuprofen. It's just insanity, and we want to have a civil conversation with someone like that about foreign policy. Forget about it. It's like Bill Kristol with a loud, cranky voice. That's all it is. And he's a joke, and he called Tulsi out yesterday. You know what you ought to do is call him out on his BS. Mr. Never Trump, except now I'm Mr. Always Trump. Just follow the money, Mark. Follow the money. Write another stupid book.
And it once again shows that you are unfit to serve as our commander-in-chief. As a member of Congress and as a soldier, I and all of my brothers and sisters in uniform have taken an oath to protect and defend the American people and the Constitution of the United States of America.
There you go. Unconstitutional. She references that. Conservatives, again, where are you? Where are you? Where are the real conservatives who believe in the Constitution? Supposedly, they're all running around, I'm a constitutional conservative. Where's Ted Cruz? Where's Mike Lee? Where's Rand Paul? Maybe Rand has had a discussion already. I'm sure he'll be... I know Rand was sick or something. I'm not sure where he's at these days. I haven't really been following his stuff. But in any event, where are you guys? I mean, doesn't the Constitution mean it really doesn't? See, this is how far we've come when somebody on the far left is now using the Constitution because it works. When you follow the Constitution, for the most part, it does what it's supposed to do. It limits power. And Tulsi Gabbard is calling everybody out and saying, hey, you can't just declare that you're going to go help Saudi Arabia and just leave us all behind.
There's nothing in our Constitution that gives you the power to go to war without the express consent of Congress. What to speak of giving you the power to offer our military to a foreign power like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to use as they wish. President Trump, your words and actions are a betrayal of my brothers and sisters in uniform, the American people, and our Constitution.
And there you have it. There you have it. From a constitutional argument, and you've got a guy, supposedly a constitutional lawyer, like Mark Levin, arguing that in fact, you know what Levin said? He said that Tulsi Gabbard was a clown. A clown. She is the best candidate in my lifetime. Not even close. It's not even close. Bernie, I'm worried about. Bernie talks too much about negotiating and getting in there and doing, some military stuff. All right? And he'll talk to the generals. He isn't sure, within the first year if he's going to start pulling troops out of there. Tulsi Gabbard goes around and does town hall after town hall. Yes, it'll be one of the first things I do when I get into the Oval Office. It'll be one of the first things I do. And I'm sure she's going to get advised from all over the place. Don't do this. Don't do this. You can't do this because you're going to tear down all of these jobs that we've made out there for people, and they're going to throw that at you, that the people who work for and around the military-industrial complex, those people are going to suffer, and you can't do it, and please stop. I say, I don't care. We have to retool. Look, it's like pulling a tooth. We've got to do the hard thing here to reset this entire economy. We cannot continue to be a war-based economy. And if anybody thinks that that's a great long-term strategy, then, you get the government that you deserve. And you're going to be constantly serving the MIC for hundreds of years. Because they're in the culture. They're in the video game culture. They're in the movie culture. They're in the television show industry. They're everywhere. It's propaganda. It seeps in. People need to open their eyes because the lies are right there to be seen. Now, a lot of people wonder, do the Democrats really want to win? Because if they really wanted to win, this is the candidate they would promote. Not Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren, she gets the nomination. My prediction is she loses, or it's going to be a nail-biter, and it's going to be even more divisive to the country in the end. Because she's then going to attack. Right now, she's hard left. This is the old adage. You go hard left in the primary, or you go somewhat left. You go left enough to win the primary, and then you tack hard to the center. And you're going to see some tacking with Elizabeth Warren. You're going to see some serious... See, with Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard, they don't have to tack. They just have to say, look, this is how I'm going to help the working class. That's not a tack. That's just sailing straight ahead. You can look at her policy positions. You can look at Bernie Sanders over the years. I am still worried about Bernie, though, when it comes to foreign policy. I'm not, and by the way, I'm not worried about domestic policy when it comes to Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, though, is the only one who is calling Trump out on what he's doing and the things that he's saying. Look, Donald Trump gets into a war prior to 2020. He's going to have a lot of these corporate Democrats saying, well, you can't have Bernie Sanders as president. You need a strong wartime president, even though we hate Trump, that Donnie Deutsch guy, whatever his name is on MS. We hate him. But I'd choose Donald Trump because he's going to keep my portfolio nice and beefed up because I got, shares of Northrop Grumman and Raytheon and, General Dynamics, whatever it is. I've got a lot of those shares. And, you put Tulsi or Bernie in there, those stocks are going to tank. We'll be in a financial crisis. See, this is all the crazy rhetoric. This is what happens when you tether the entire economic system to a war machine, because that's what we've done. It's right here. I mean, this is why we're doing this. And by the way, we're pumping more oil than ever in this country. Okay, that's why we're all so panicked about climate change, is because we're getting shale, we're getting, all the fracking stuff that we didn't used to get. And supposedly we're energy independent, right? But 5% of the world's oil is at stake, and the warships, they're ready. Everything's locked and loaded. Folks, if the Democrats wanted to win, they would juxtapose the Orange Clown Show with a calm, beautiful, articulate soldier. A calm, beautiful, articulate soldier. There she is. Her name is Tulsi Gabbard. Okay? What else can I say about this? I can't say much more. They would rather have, by the way, the tribal warfare of a Warren versus Trump. Oh, this is drama because Trump called her out. The DNA test didn't work out so good. How can we prop Warren up and make Trump, look bad in the process? They're all about ratings. See, with Tulsi Gabbard, she wouldn't be throwing the hate bombs. She'd be throwing the truth bombs, as you just saw in this video. And they don't like truth bombs because then they have to examine themselves. Oh, well, we don't believe in what Tulsi Gabbard is saying. She very naive on foreign policy. Of course, our program here is being sponsored by 2 or 3 military contractors and maybe a pharmaceutical company or two, bringing us the opioid crisis. You know what I'm saying? It's like the news programming is being sponsored by the drug industry, the ones that have all of these side effects, whereas we can't have, a prohibition on marijuana for all 50 states. We can't do that. So all of this stuff ties together. It's pretty sick. And we need to be aware of this. And again, I don't think the Democrats really, really want to win. I think they want to win their way rather than our way. And their way doesn't represent us. Their way represents beltway politics, corporations. You can go through the list of the usual suspects, oligarchs, globalism. You want to bring in some of the alt-right talking points, at least in that regard. It's the same. People, look, different factions are beginning to realize that it is a big club, and we ain't in it, as George Carlin said. So, Tulsi Gabbard really, really, really calls out Donald Trump here, and it's like a glass of cold champagne. It's just fantastic to watch, and if you're, the least bit interested in what the Constitution says, Mark Levin, you might want to watch what she says here and really examine where she's coming from. We can't just be global policemen unchecked, because that's not what the founders wanted. That's not what's in the Constitution. And anybody who argues the other way is probably working for somebody who is involved some way or somehow in this military-industrial complex, which, honestly, a lot of people don't even know what that is. So it's up to us to do the education for these folks. Keep watching these videos, not just mine, but people who are far more intelligent than yours truly, who can bring a dose of reality and truth and counter incredibly stupid arguments like those from Mr. Mark Levin. Just an irritating guy. All right, see you soon, everybody.